Hey, welcome to Campfire Moto Stories. This is a little bit different show than I've done in the past. I'm going to be airing an episode that I filmed while at Durhamtown. He didn't have good enough signal to do it, so I'm going to be down in my garage building the motor, watching this thing. Feel free to comment, and it was a really good interview. I really hope you enjoy. Let's do it.
Warning: all stories could be completely made up, and we have no way to confirm that. Any and all names mentioned in the show are most likely fake. We at Campfire Moto Stories are not journalists and should not be considered as much. If you're offended by anything said or shown in this episode, we don't care, but we encourage you to voice your opinion so we can laugh at the fact that you can't control your emotions. This program contains full language, and I recommend no one to watch or listen to this.
The views and opinions expressed in the program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the sponsor, any advertisers, or the sponsor's affiliates, employees, or partners.
Coming to you live from the Claremont Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia, it's Campfire Moto Stories.
Hey everyone, welcome to Campfire Moto Stories. I'm Anthony Bennett. I'm thrilled to have you join us today for our live show. This YouTube show / podcast is all about sharing amazing motorcycle stories from everyday riders like you. Whether it's an epic ride, funny mishap, or an unforgettable adventure, we want to hear it all. Today we have some fantastic guests in the studio who we'll introduce in just a moment, where we'll dive into their riding stories. Plus, we have exciting segments lined up, including pre-recorded interviews, Billy's Tech Tips, Spotlight a Stolen Bike, and stories sent in by you through website and or phone line. At 8:30 sharp, we'll open the phone lines and give our live viewers a chance to call in and share their own motorcycle story. Lastly, you'll get to hear an awesome story from my 5-year-old son about riding. May or may not be completely made up. But hey, 5-year-old can tell a great story, so can you. Don't forget, you can earn entries into our YZ250 giveaway by participating in the show. Check out campfiremotostories.com for all the official rules, and by participating in any way, shape, or form, you indicate that you've read the official rules, our terms and conditions. Let's get it started.
Another life around the wall, another request, another call. All I hear, I can't reply at all. Feel the strain, fall behind. All I ever get is never that's true.
Hey, welcome to Campfire Moto Stories. I'm your host, Anthony Bennett, and I've got a different show than I've done before. So I'm actually here live with Mike, the owner at Durhamtown. So, well, former owner. You've retired since then.
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah. Are you ever really retired?
No, I'm
Yeah.
still.
My dad recently retired, and he's busier than he's ever been before in his life. So,
I'm here 7 days a week
yeah.
and live it and breathe it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this for me. And I do want to thank our sponsors who make this possible. So MX201 Track Designs, Hard Knocks Racing, and Innovative Mechanical LLC. Thank you guys for making this possible. And we're going to get right into some of the questions. So last time when we were here, I just talked with you, told you I'd do a show and some stuff, and we got to talking a little bit, and I pulled a few things from that. And I thought the coolest thing is how your family got the land that you told me about.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did that all happen?
Well, started back during the Revolutionary War.
Uh-huh.
And my great-great-great-great-grandfather fought with George Washington out of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we got our freedom, they paid the soldiers with a 200-acre land grant. And the area that they had, one of the areas they had taken was this region of Georgia, basically from Oconee River back to the ocean. So my grandfather of that era came down in a wagon with a mule and one cow. And he came here in 1793 as they arrived here.
Jeez, that's awesome.
And homesteaded on their 200 acres and just started basically in those days, people just existed. It wasn't really a business. You just exist. So they farmed and, just fiddled on around in life and on up through the 1800s. My grandfather's brother received 200 acres for the taking the Indians to Oklahoma on the Trail of Tears.
Oh,
So
okay.
they awarded him 200 acres, and that was on the other side of Atlanta, over in Coweta County, Georgia,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and more towards Alabama.
Yep,
That was the
that's
new
more my side, and I've been on, like, driven on it and mountain bike that.
That was the new region that they had taken over, more or less. And so he got 200 acres over there. Well, he didn't want to live over there away from his family, so he traded his 200 acres for a wagon and a mule. And came back over here, and the Durham family started homesteading.
Mhm.
And then they stayed here until they were here during the end of the Civil War. And this particular spot we're sitting on was owned by one of the founders of Mercer University.
Oh, okay.
And Mercer University was founded just 8 miles up the road in Penfield, Georgia. So after the Civil War, they gave all the land to the slaves at that time, and gave them their land and their freedom and so forth, and moved the college to Macon, Georgia. Well, in doing so, my grandfather, I'm moving on up into the Depression area. During the Depression area, my grandfather went to Detroit and worked for General Motors. And every week he would mail his check back down to his brother.
Huh.
And what was happening then is during the Depression, nobody could sustain their land and nobody could pay any taxes, especially the former tenants on the property. You know, they had they had no way to make money. So they ended up selling their land to my grandfather through his checks from Detroit.
Oh.
And he reestablished the whole plantation, whole 4,000 acres over his 15 years of lifespan.
It's pretty wild.
And what he did was 2 weeks before all the industrial jobs were locked down and you could not leave them for the World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 weeks prior to that, my grandfather quit, moved back down here, went and got him a sawmill, steam-powered sawmill, brought it back over, and started sawing lumber to support the war effort. And in doing that, he would take and pay the taxes on the land to get the land, which was average of $5 an acre is what he bought it for. And started sawing lumber from the timber, and all the tenants on the property more or less came back to work for him because it provided them with stability.
Yeah.
And he made sure everyone had a mule, every one of them had a cow, every one of them had garden space and all that. He made them, self-sustainable, but they all were guaranteed a job here on the plantation. Went on through the war, and then after the war, the demand for milk was extremely high due to the soldiers coming back and having a lot of babies.
Yeah.
So the demand for milk was strong, so he decided to build a dairy, and was still sawing the lumber, but he decided to add a dairy to it. Well, started dairy farming, and then the demand for cotton was extremely high. People had money after the war. The soldiers brought money back with them.
Yeah.
And so they were buying more clothing, which the demand for cotton went up. And so he started cotton farming as well. And then also during that time, the demand for beef went up. And the average person out in the region would never eat beef because they couldn't afford it. That was only more or less something in the cities. So after the war, the demand for beef went up. So now he had beef cattle, dairy cattle, sawmilling, and cotton farming all going on this same plantation, all on this one plantation at the same time. And what kind of ended it was he was spraying 2,4-D, which is a poison we're all familiar with.
Oh,
On cotton for the boll weevil. Ended up, the 2,4-D, being a cancer agent, ended up killing him at the age of 59 from spraying 2,4-D on cotton. So when he died, then my grandmother, then decided to take things on to just put everything in pine trees. So now everything here is a pine plantation, more or less. Now, his brother, which lived 3 miles across the creek over here, he continued dairy farming. He didn't like sawmilling. Took too much labor. He didn't like labor. So he continued dairy farm with his sons, and he continued after my grandfather died in '59. He continued to milk the cows, made some money, and buy more land, and kept buying land, and then they would buy land, cut the timber, buy more land,
Okay.
cut the timber on that, buy more land.
Yeah.
So it was a snowball,
Mhm.
and that
Is that
snowball.
what cleared out like a lot of track sections?
No,
like what
no,
you guys
no,
put into
no.
there?
Well, what happened over the years, rolling that land over and over, we've ended up collecting around 34,000 acres of land.
I thought it was 20,000. I didn't realize it was
it's
that.
about
Jeez.
34
Yeah,
right now.
that is a lot.
And so the thing is, when you have that much land, every day you have some timber that needs to be cut or thinned. So you take that money, instead of paying the taxes on it, as long as you reinvest in timberland, you don't pay any tax.
Oh.
So what that's done is just allow him to continue to roll our family's money over into that to gain more timberland. And we also kept a dairy over there as well. But after COVID, when COVID come through, my cousin got COVID real bad. And so we ended up selling all the cattle, the dairy cows. And now we just raise beef cows over there, eating the grass and just grow timber.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest. So what happened was the riding part of this, you said what cleared the. Well, what ended up happening, our land was basically the only residual income we had on timber was the deer hunting rights.
Okay.
Hunting rights on property. Well, that would pay our taxes. That's basically all you do with your hunting rights. You pay your taxes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cost you to continue to own the land. So we did that, and then hunting being my passion, and I used to go abroad and all over the United States and hunt and do things like that, and then. The more I went out and looked, I said, it's go to these places and I look around. I said, really, they don't have anything that I don't have. I actually had more and didn't realize it. When you live here, you take it for granted.
Yeah.
But when you get away from here and you see other parts of the world, you start realizing, hey, what do you really have out here? And so we started, my vision being my passion was hunting and fishing and so forth, just outdoors in general. I decided to start a hunting plantation for trophy deer and quail hunting. And so I did that for about 10 years and was building this building that we're in as a hunting lodge.
Oh, okay.
Typically.
So what years was that then?
That was in 2000.
Okay, because if I remember, what was it this was established? 99? Or was it 2000?
The riding was established in January 1 of 2002.
Oh, okay.
Because in 2000, I was running my hunting plantation from 92 to 02, but when I started building this for the plantation to expand it, 9/11 happened. And I had a landscape business at Lake Oconee.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about hunting, you never make money. It's just a passion. And you try to break even. Well, your desires to improve the land is greater than the cash that comes in to do it.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was taking the profits from my landscape business at Lake Oconee and bringing that over here and just trying to build my dream, which was a lodge.
Yeah.
Because I traveled and been in lodges. I said, well, why don't I have one? I can do the same thing they've done and have people come in here. So we were on the basic framing end of this building and 9/11 happened. And I turned it around and we sat right in there, watched it on TV on a picnic table on a dirt floor, watched all that go down. And I had a good friend of mine help me run the hunting, and I turned to him and I said, well, there's one thing for sure. With the word recession came out within 10 minutes
of that.
Of the 02. They wouldn't admit we had a recession. They were trying not to make us believe we had one. But as soon as the towers went down, they started preaching recession.
Yeah.
So I told my hunting manager, I said, my landscape business just dried up.
Yeah.
Second home community, Lake Oconee. I said, this is it. It's over right there.
Yep.
I said, we better figure out what we're going to do here because the cash flow is going to stop coming in here.
Or at least
temporarily.
Yeah.
Because
slow down a lot.
Well, here's what I told him. I said, well, this is in September. I said, I can promise you my part of landscaping was the pine straw and the mulch and some plants. And I didn't cut grass, but I did refurbishing. I said, one thing for sure, they're not going to let their yards grow up in weeds. And those houses come Masters time, they automatically gonna make their house shine again.
Yeah.
So I said, we just need to get by till March. Well, sure enough, we brought my crew out here and started hand cutting trails on the property, and with machetes. We didn't know any different.
Yeah.
We just go through the woods, just chopping, and
So you really didn't like come from where you grew up riding and dirt bikes and all this stuff. It was really
Well-
more just like the hunting, and then it was like, all right, well, what are we gonna do next?
well, as a child, we had horses as kids growing
Uh-huh.
up on the farm. We go up and get cattle and all that. But we did have a little Yamaha Mini Enduro 60 as a kid.
What year
coming up.
was that? Like the bike. What year was the bike?
71 or 2 maybe,
Okay.
I think, somewhere along in there. We were about 8 years old maybe. I was young enough that my brother and I could ride it double.
Yeah.
So that's pretty small on a 60. So we told my that's how my interest started on dirt bike, and then we ended up with a Suzuki 125 4-stroke, and we
Mhm.
used that to go back and forth to town because I would haul eggs, flats of eggs. We had chicken houses, then eggs, so I would lay flats of eggs in my lap
Uh-huh.
and drive the motorcycle all the way to Union Point, 8 miles away, to my music teacher that taught me to play piano.
Okay.
And so I would trade her a flat of eggs for a music lesson on every Tuesday afternoon. So
You still play?
no, I didn't have the interest. My mother made me do it.
Oh, okay. That
I
makes
did
more
not have
sense.
the interest. Now, do I regret it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's another story. But anyway, that was I grew up on the little small bikes while I was in middle school, grammar school, middle school, and high school. Then I went off to college. When I went off to college, went to ABAC down at Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College down in Tifton, Georgia, and majored in forestry and wildlife.
Oh yeah. I remember every time because I go to Florida often. I'm from there. Go down the ride a lot, and I would always see that on the signs.
right
And I
by.
was like, I remember just one time my buddy was with me. I was like, what the hell is the
ABAC,
ABAC on this sign?
Agriculture Baldwin
And he told me
Agricultural
that.
College.
He goes, dude, it's huge. Like it's and I was like, well, that makes sense where it's at in Georgia.
It was one of the top forestry schools in the Southeast. And the only reason I went there, the only reason I went to college, period, my dad worked us every summer and every day after school between chicken houses, hogs, cattle, getting up hay.
Mhm.
I mean, me and my two brothers, basically were the free farm labor.
Yeah.
So my dad said, well, son, you got a choice. You can stay here and work on this farm, or you can go to college and get away from it. And I had taken enough abuse from working on this farm to the point that I hated animals. And I had broken my arm on the horses. And so when we go get cattle, I would use the dirt bike and my brothers would ride the horses.
Yeah.
So combined, we were able to get our cattle back up when we needed to.
You
So
said that was the only reason. You sure there wasn't for the ladies as well?
no, not in the beginning. Not in the beginning, because I was moving away from a lady. But I was fortunate enough to meet a nice lady down there.
Yeah.
Massapequa, New York. Total different culture.
Oh yeah.
Oh, actually Brooklyn. From
So someone from Brooklyn was there at the college?
at the college, and she was majoring in computers because it had one of the best 2-year programs in computers.
Oh.
So she wanted to do computers, and two totally opposites was her from New York
Mhm.
in the city, and me being so far into the country, and two opposite sometimes do a track. And we did. And
Yeah.
I'll never get the first time I brought her home from college. She didn't tell me this until afterwards. We were headed back down to Tifton, and which is 3.5-hour drive.
Yeah.
She told me, she said, I was quite surprised. She says, I thought I was going to a house that only had an outhouse. I didn't know you had real plumbing. So anyway, we ended up dating about 12 years on and off. So
That's cool.
But anyway, we still have a very close friendship right now.
So she was into computers, and what year was that? Was the computer basically the entire size of what we're in? Right
Yeah,
now?
this was in 77.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Oh, yeah,
all
they were
paper
huge.
cards.
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
did the little
Oh, the
marks
whole-
on the
yep.
cards. And I never understood it. But anyway, we come up, we had our fun, went all through that. So, but anyway, after the dirt bike thing came about because we had hosted a Citra hair scramble
Oh, okay. Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
'99. And then we had an enduro in the spring of 2000. And we did another hair scramble, but that was it. We had 3 races here because everybody knew we owned a lot of land, so everybody
Yep.
would want to come out here,
Yeah.
and people would call us
And they
"Oh,
cut
come."
the trails for you too, right?
Well,
sometimes.
That was the original deal.
Yeah.
That so they said, yeah, we'll come out there and we'll make trails and we'll you know leave you with some trails. We're like, well, what are we going to do with trails after you leave? We don't have no desire for them. And basically, I think they may have paid us $200 the first time they came out
Okay.
to use our land. They used about 4,000 acres when they did that.
So I didn't even think about this till right now. I'm good friends with Derek Gravitt.
Oh, yeah.
Who
Derek.
his
Dad
I
was
know.
here yesterday.
I was gonna say I know they're out here all the time. I think they got a camper here or something.
They
But
do have a permanent site.
and I know he started in Citra real young. Was he
There's-
part of kind of cutting those trails in or getting that?
Michael, his dad.
I've never
Yeah.
met his dad. I just
Yeah,
met
his
Derek.
dad's
Yeah.
Michael. And when we first started, I don't even think Derek might have been a little toddler, maybe.
Yeah,
at
he
best.
just turned 30.
Okay,
so-
well, we've been here 23 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 23 years started.
Yeah, so
January.
95 would have been when he's born. 94. So
Yeah, his dad was into it big, and his
Mm-hmm.
first cousin was I forget the Gravitt boy's name, up in
Yeah.
South Carolina. That's back then was a champion and did
Yeah.
all that stuff. But anyway, yeah. So what happened? They did
Alan?
Alan.
Yes.
Alan Gravitt.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
So what happened was they come out and did that race, and we didn't think nothing about it, and then they left. Okay, that's fine. So, but from that event, occasionally somebody would just drive up on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon and say, hey, I was here for a race and don't mind if I go ride your trails again. I'll give you $10. If you'll let me go ride your trails again, they still out there. And sure enough, we started to do 1 or 2 here or there, so then come on around to the fall of '01.
Mhm.
And 9/11 happened, and we were sitting there, and I told my partner, my hunting man, I said, landscaping just dried up. I got to find an alternative. And I turned to him and looked, and I said, you know them damn old motorcycles, they keep coming out here wanting to bug us about riding on our trails and on my land, my hunting land.
Yeah.
And I says, maybe we need to open that door to get a little revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about it, for a day or 2. And then I said, our budget at that time was only $30,000 to pay him his money for his time, buy some seed and fertilizer, pay for the diesel fuel on the tractor and stuff like that. And so I agreed. He and I finally come to an agreement that we would allow motorcycles come in on January the 1st, 2002,
Mm-hmm.
and we would run them until
Hunting season.
September, Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
And that was the opening weekend of dove season. And I said, we'll run it to then we'll run them damn old motorcycles out of here.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get enough money we were hoping to get $10,000, maybe to buy the seed and fertilizer and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we got close to that point, and we were doing 8,000 acres in the hunting program at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned to Ron and I said, economy's still kind of slow a little bit. I says, we've lost a lot of members because my hunting people said, well, there won't be a deer within 20 miles of here if we let a motorcycle on this property.
Oh.
So hunters were so possessive of their land and didn't want anybody messing with it but them. You got different cultures, and they all have what I would say uneducated ideas of what is reality.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that deer don't run from equipment
Yeah.
because we dairy farm. I worked at Reynolds Plantation at Lake Oconee. There was every imaginable piece of equipment,
Yeah.
air guns, you name it, and we'd be out there working in a guy's yard, and there'd be deer standing in the yard 2 houses over.
Mm-hmm.
Deer acclimate.
Yeah.
So-
and honestly, so Croom in Florida, I don't know
Yep.
if you know the place.
Yep.
So I grew up
Familiar.
in Tampa, and I would go there all the time. And I would always hear stories about the hunters would actually line up on because there was hunting property surrounding it. So they would line up and set up their stands
Yeah.
there on the line because there were certain deers, because most of the good deer were on the motorcycle side of
right.
it because they knew they wouldn't get shot.
They were protected.
Yeah.
They have they do that.
Yes. And I remember hearing stories about that. So yeah, it's quite the opposite.
Well,
Like they know.
Exactly. Well, even today, we go through, 70,000 riders a year through here. And we still run a trophy hunting program on all this land with all the trails. And when we do a kill reports, we write down where we harvest them at. The majority of the largest bucks are killed within 200 yards of this building.
Yeah. I believe it.
They feel protected there.
Yeah.
Because, at nighttime, they'll be walking through the campground with people out by the campfires.
Oh, we're probably getting fed too.
Well, yeah. We have permanent campers here, and a lot of them do put corn out and do stuff like that. So.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's we got started in January 2002, and it took off till that September, and I looked at my hunting manager. I said, well, the revenue from the riding was about $30,000, I think, or so at that time. And I says,
and you guys were only hoping to get 10,000, right?
right.
Yeah.
And I said the revenue was greater from the riders than it was from the hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so I feel like, why don't we just cut the land somewhat in half and let the riders have 4,000 acres, which is enough area.
Yeah.
And give the hunters 4,000.
Because I mean, hell, Croom's only 2,200, and that's massive.
Oh yeah.
So even today, it's only 4,000 that the riding is a part of. And
No,
then
it's 5 here.
5 here. Okay.
Yeah. The
Does that
activity-
include the Jeep trail stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeeps, motorcycle, ATV, side by sides. Then we do all the hunting and everything. And we hunt right through. I mean, we ride right through deer season. But the unique thing about that is, hunters will go in the woods usually 45 minutes before daylight, and they'll hunt to average around 9 o'clock.
Yep.
And they come out. That's just the habit of a hunter. A hunter typically doesn't go in till 4:30, and he'll hunt to dark.
Yep.
He comes out.
And it's literally almost the exact opposite schedule.
So they
people that ride.
crisscross.
Yep.
Now, here's the most unique thing we found out. Many of our riders were actually deer hunters, but they were a member of a club somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would come out of the woods from hunting and go put on their riding gear and go ride with the family.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And at breakfast, we have the restaurant in there, and you go in there in the morning time, there's a guy sitting in full camo with Fox P scent on, stinking, and there's his wife and kids sitting there
In
beside him
gear,
in full
about
riding
ready
gear.
to go.
And, here they all go back out and go riding again.
Yeah, that works.
And they would, they finally, just about all of my hunting members now have pretty much become riders on the property as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because now my riders are my scouts. They'll tell me where they see the best deer.
Yeah.
And they'll come in and, a lot of them are hunters, and they know how to judge a deer. And when they say they saw a big deer, you can believe them because they hunt. Now, somebody doesn't hunt might see a little small buck and say, hey, I saw a big deer. But when you're hunters, you can tell. And because they inquire all the time about it. And, but yeah, I joke with my hunters. These deer are acclimated to the human element in respect. They hear the sounds and the smells of humans and machines 365 days a year.
Yep.
So the day a fawn is born and hits the ground, he hears and smells.
Yep.
So that fawn through his life is not afraid of it. So from a hunter standpoint, they go in the woods and the deer are not just spooked and wild and run from them.
Mm-hmm.
The unique thing is if you go in the woods with a helmet, goggles, and bright riding gear, you can walk typically within 40 feet of a deer.
Yeah.
But if you
They're
go
not
out
gonna
there
care
with
at
a
all.
camouflage and a deer can see your eyes, they'll run from you.
That's interesting.
They don't acknowledge you as a human.
So you're almost better off to just be in full moto gear with your rifle.
I joke with my guys, hunters, and I'm a hunter, so I can, joke about all this. The hunters, all about putting cover scent on and all these different things, that makes them invisible into the woods. And I laugh with them and I say, the best thing you can do is go right over to the pro shop, get you a bottle of 2-stroke motor oil, and rub it all over you. I said, now you will blend into our woods.
Maybe don't recommend the VP fuel. That might burn a little bit on the skin, but yeah, maybe the oil would be all right.
Even that, or I say, and wear, big bright sunglasses and a bright yellow hat. Of course, they require to wear orange.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't like to do it, but hey, those deer, they don't even acknowledge people out here.
Yeah, that's funny.
They almost like our pets. But so anyway, we moved on, and then as I got moving forward through this process, I realized that the hunting and the riding was easily going to blend.
Mm-hmm.
And the more, it took a while to get people to understand that. And as people began to understand it, that's how I gained my hunters. And my hunters are also my riders are also some of my hunters. And it's worked so well that we have a very successful trophy hunting plantation. We manage it on a 16-inch outside spread, which means the antlers got to be at least wide as the ears, wider than the ears. And it's also has to have 8 points or better. So the management of trophy deer is working here just as, even with all the riding and everything.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I was going to ask, and you may have already answered this then, is like, what was the most surprising aspect of this place? When you, like, something that you had to deal with that you didn't even think of. Now, I was
two
thinking
sources
more,
of income was hunters and riders. Felt like you were going to have to sacrifice one or the other. The unification that I discovered, that they're both the same and they both get along with each other. So by my hunters being riders, they don't get upset if a dirt bike rides by while they're in their stand, or they can hear a dirt bike nearby.
Yeah.
Real close, say if it's 50 yards away. It doesn't upset them because they'll watch the deer, and the deer will stand there and look at the motorcycle right through, and then the deer just go right back to eating acorns or doing whatever it's doing.
Yeah.
So that was a great thing for us.
Which leads me into, like, have you had to deal with it? Because it's getting more and more common where people are getting shut down because of noise. Have you had to deal with any noise issues or from neighbors or tree huggers or any of that kind of stuff that you didn't expect?
Not really out here because we're so far away from pretty much society. If you look out the front door right here and look to the north, there's a 70,000 acre parcel area of land.
Oh, okay.
That has not even a power line on it.
Oh, wow. Very unestablished then.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the largest uninhabited piece of land left in Georgia, other than a national forest. But we're bigger than most national forests.
I was going to say that.
I mean, the 70,000 acres, we own about 30 of it, but the river basin.
On top of the 30 that you already
No,
have
I mean, we
here?
own, with our land is within that 70,000 acres.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying we're part of it.
Got it.
We're actually on the south edge of it, which is more the developed side of it. But when you look out that door to 70,000 acres, so you don't have a lot of neighbors to complain. And so we've been very fortunate. And another thing is the planted pine, the timber business we're in, is a very dense forest. So it absorbs the sounds as well. So now you can hear on a good cold day in the wintertime like right now, you can actually hear some of this about 5 miles away.
Yeah. And I mean, really, you've been established so long with this that I felt like you wouldn't have ran into those issues. But just like I know the owner of Dade City, Randy Yoho, and actually I'm going to go ahead and plug, I'm going to do a live show with him when I'm down there for Day in the Dirt in 2 weeks. So that's going to be really fun because I've got a lot of history with that guy kicking me out and shit like that when I was a snot-nosed teenage kid down there. But like, I just remember hearing stories from him about just the day before a lawsuit or like a court hearing that he had to attend to from somebody that would just hit him with one. So I'm glad to hear you don't have to deal with that. And I know we're far enough away, but it always, like, people grow or like communities grow, and it takes.
You may not know this, but I went to Tellico, right there at Murphy, North Carolina. Area called Tellico, which was famous for off-road riding.
It's like Tellico Plains or something like that.
Yeah, right there. Okay. Well, I had 3,000 acres right there, the northern part of Tellico ride area. Okay. I went up there and established another Durhamtown.
Oh.
And it was 3,000 acres. It was the largest parcel of land.
I think I remember. What years was this?
This was probably around 2016.
Okay. Yeah.
Before my
I do
first
remember hearing
kidney
about that.
transplant. And so I went up there, and it was the largest private landowner in North Carolina. And I started building a place there, off-road and everything. And Teleco had gotten shut down some years before. Trout Unlimited was a key factor of claiming that they were damaging the trout streams and so forth.
Okay.
You know, the sensitive areas from the trout. And I'm a trout fisherman, and I respect it. But there were a lot of bad things going on that led to that demise.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there with the intent of doing it the legit way, the non-damaging way, the best I could. Well, once we got back up there, first thing shows up. They come from Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, jeez.
And you can only imagine what come out of there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I spent 3 years up there battling those guys. And I built cabins up there. I built pavilions. I did tons of land rehabilitations and so forth. Put in, I don't know how many miles of trails all over that land in there. And sad to say, after 3 years, I lost that battle with them. And I lost quite a bit of money. I left $250,000 worth of improvements sitting on.
Jeez.
And now it's gone back to hunting. But then what was happening before, off-roaders were poaching into the property and being disrespectful. So I went there to make it respectful and have it managed. My dog won't come. But,
You want to let him in?
No,
I think we could do a quick timeout break.
He'll get jealous.
I almost brought my pup. She's in the RV, and she was
He'll
just
start
looking.
barking at
She
me.
was just looking me in the eyes like, "Don't leave me in this RV."
Yeah. So anyway, I battled those guys. I spent a ton of money up there, and eventually they ran me out.
Yeah.
I mean, I had kidney failure, and I was doing a kidney transplant and all that, and the stress of dealing with that ended up contributing to my kidney failure, high blood pressure, and so forth. So I gave it all up and left it, and now it's gone back to the intrusion of illegal riders.
Oh, yeah.
Destroying the property.
Yeah,
no respect, no anything.
Yeah, so the people that stopped somebody from doing it the right way,
Yeah,
all it did
exactly.
is make it worse for their
Exactly.
situation. So
Exactly
it
what
is funny how that works like that, like with just the ignorance of, not knowing what the facts are with it. And kind of what
that's
you
it.
thought with the hunting.
Did not know
like
the facts.
Yeah.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah. So, switching gears a little bit, what is your favorite thing that you found when starting this
Durhamtown?
place up? Yeah, like what's the thing that you like the most about it? Or give me a list of them.
Well, I can tell you the part I enjoy the most is meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty people person. And one of my number one questions I ask everybody when they come in, I meet them, I say, well, where'd you come from?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you look? Give me some background on you. And I have met people from every corner of the world. We have a map out front.
Okay.
It's got the pins.
Pins,
You pin in.
yeah.
I have a United States map, and I also have a world map.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just blown my mind how far people come to ride Durhamtown.
Yeah. It's funny, like the first time I ever heard about this place was in 2005 when I was living in Florida, and the service manager at the time, Ed, I don't remember his last name, he brought his family up, and Ed was a well-known motocross guy. He ran the Florida Vintage Motocross for a number of years, but his family wasn't into riding that much.
Yeah.
But he wanted to do something with him, and his son was actually autistic, but he could ride like a Honda 90 four-wheeler around. And when he came back, he was just like, it's like the ultimate like sportsman's, just a great environment for the family. He's like, the trails are groomed really well. They're easy enough for somebody who doesn't ride to do that. And I remember the first time I even came here when I moved up in 2007, I came with my buddy Chris Hall, and we rode MX2. And I was kind of like, I mean, it's cool, but I'm a diehard motocross guy. And then I was like, it's fun, but I'm going to go to a motocross track more. So then when you guys built the bomber track, it definitely brought me out. But now that I've got wife and kid, my kid loves coming out here to ride. And it definitely is. I think that's what brings it in, because if you bring somebody to a track that's full of ruts and very difficult, they're going to be like, I'm out. I'm not. I can't do this. Yeah. But it's really designed and built real well for family friendly stuff.
Well, people, I meet a lot of owners of other ride parks. Of course, I meet tens of thousands of people that ride other facilities. And I listen to their comments. I absorb it. And the number one compliment for us is we maintain our trails.
Yeah.
And our tracks. We have 17.
Or shut them down when it's muddy as hell,
Yeah,
like it is out here,
like
instead
today,
of letting
yeah.
people destroy it.
We
Yeah.
have 17 different style tracks on this property. From the kid on the Stasic bike, all the way up to the pro motocross track.
Or the kids' BMX little area.
BMX
Dude,
right
at
in the
night, that
backyard.
place is going
Yeah.
off.
And, so this is what my mother, you asked for what some of the things that was important to me and all was, my mother, before she died, she said, cater to the women, to the moms,
Yep.
and you will be successful. And at first, being young and Bubba Redneck and go out and get my beer and go ride my four-wheeler and stuff like that. Well, we all grew up doing that. Back then we didn't have nothing to worry about. We chased cows on them and never had a helmet. And so what I ended up realizing was Dad would come out here and ride with a bunch of guys. He goes in the pro shop and he sees a $300 helmet he'd like to buy. Well, he picks it up and he feels it and he tries it on. He's fell in love with it, but he's, I got to go talk to the wife. I better not do this because, first of all, if I spend $300 on this helmet, it's going to cost me another $300 on her because she's got to match it. They always say, well, what do I get?
Yeah.
So anyway, so he backs off. So then he comes back and maybe he brings Junior with him. So Junior comes in. He goes to the pro shop and he goes crazy. Daddy, I want this.
Yeah.
I want that. I want this, and Dad's got it covered. He says, son, I'd love to, but we got to talk to Mom first. We got to okay this for Mother. So that's his excuse for not buying it. But my mother said, if you ever get Mom on the property, it'll be very successful. What she meant about that was, so Mom drives up. If you've never been here and you come pulling into this place and you see stuff going in different directions, but it's organized. I mean, it's all one way and so forth. But you see a lot of people in the parking area and you walk into the lodge, it's busy. So Mom is nervous about Junior. So she gets her does the waivers and pays the fee, and they walk out. They walk by the front of the pro shop deck. What first thing she's going to say? Let's go in here.
Yeah.
Because we got to get some protective gear for Junior.
Which is funny you say that because I've actually bought a few jerseys and just protective stuff from here with my wife. Where I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
And I never thought about that aspect.
Now,
that
here's
she
the
was
other
the
part
one that
of
went
it.
in and did
So
that.
then the wife looks at the dad and says, you're going to buy that gear because you bring the money home. And you don't need to be having a broke arm, broke leg, or a concussion. So you go in there and buy your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Mom looks around. She sees other ladies walking around with ride gear on or jerseys, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, automatically, Mom says, I can look better than her. So she's going to go right back in there and buy her something so she can sport around out here and look like she's part of the crew.
And it's so funny because
you got 3 sales instead of 1 sale.
So like us guys are kind of dumb when it comes to that stuff where we don't even really think about that. The fact that women will spend thousands of dollars on a purse. You know what I mean? So a few $100s on some gear for the most part is nothing, not that big a deal for them. And
it's a fashion competition.
Yeah.
Anytime a woman goes in public, it's a fashion competition. I've got to look better than her.
Yeah, that's why I'm ready in 10 minutes. No, 8 minutes I can be awake, teeth brushed, dressed, and out the door. My wife is at least 45 minutes every day. Yeah.
That's the way it is. But the good thing, another thing is at the business side of it is a pro shop. That's one of the successful areas. That's the largest volume brick and mortar shop in America. We do more volume than any brick and mortar of off-road gear and supply in America.
Huh.
Yeah. And so there are some online companies that are larger, and we don't do online at this point. We're kind of merging that way a little bit. But that pro shop if you can get the kids involved, you're selling them a new set of gear,
Yeah.
boots, helmets, the whole 9 yards every year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. Dad's going to buy that helmet and gear, and it might last them 3 to 5 or 7 years. It's
Yeah.
a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, mama, every time she sees a new design, that's why you got to change the inventory constantly.
Yeah.
So mom will have to buy the newest and the latest. So it's a mind game of retail in that pro shop. And that pro shop has been very, very successful for us. I mean, we learned that people buy at the point of use more than they buy ahead. And in today's world, you order it online. Where you get it, you don't know if it's going to fit. You don't know if the colors are right or whatever. So if here you walk in, you try it on, you put it on, tear the tag off, pay for it, walk out the door with the product on and being used within 5 minutes. So,
And how many times have you probably sold something that somebody just forgot it at home?
Oh gosh, that's our best customer. We had one guy. This is no lie. He had bought 11 helmets from us.
Because he forgot them?
Because he never remembered to bring his helmet. And I don't understand the concept.
So okay, I thought you were saying at one time. Oh, you mean over time?
I mean, we're talking about in over about 2 years. He had bought 11 helmets. Now, they were like the $89 helmets back in the day, which is equivalent to a $150 helmet today.
Yeah. But still.
and I'll tell you another thing I do. I like being over at the pro shop because I like messing with people. Is I'll see a guy come in. And on Sundays, you tend to see the guys that went clubbing the night before. They show up at 12 o'clock on Sunday. And you can tell.
So about
you
this
learn
time.
to figure this out. And they got a girl with them. So they bring the girl into the pro shop, you know, and they'll go around and get stuff. They're bad about forgetting stuff, too. And so they come up to the counter, and I look at that guy, and I look over at his girl with him. Dang, that's not the same girl you had last week. And I said, oh, he's only buying you the jersey. I said, that girl last week, she had to have $500 worth of stuff.
I like to consider myself a prankster and an asshole, but that is next level,
Oh,
sir.
man.
Holy crap,
sells
that's
so much
great.
stuff. I love to pick at these guys with that. And,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So you said that about 70,000 people a year. Do you actually have a total count of from the start to now, or there's no way you can?
No,
track
I
that?
don't keep all those records since we gotten computerized. You know, you can dig back, but we were averaging. I mean, we were looking at our numbers. Now during COVID, it went way up, but then after we're back down to pre-COVID numbers now. We usually around 60 to 70,000 people a year coming through that door.
Yeah.
Because everybody comes in, that's by our armband.
Yeah.
So we can count our number of armbands for the entire year and tell exactly what our numbers are.
Yeah.
But one of the things we do too that makes us, that's good for us, is we have a large rental program
Oh yeah.
of ATVs, dirt bikes, and side-by-sides. So let's say you want to come down and come ride, and you got a friend lives in California or New York or who knows where, and they want to come into town, you can bring them out, rent a dirt bike or side-by-side or ATV and take them. And the biggest thing it's done for us, from the dirt biker standpoint, we get more dirt bikers to come here because they can bring the wife and kid, and she can ride in a side-by-side.
Yep.
Anybody can drive an automobile can drive a side-by-side.
Yeah.
And you know, every woman sitting in the passenger seat of an automobile is going to tell the man she can drive better and how to drive. So naturally, you want to just put her in the seat of the side-by-side.
Yeah.
Because she knows everything already.
I love it because we throw the car seat in the passenger seat for my 5-year-old to go in, and they'll just go, and I get to go ride the motocross
That's
track.
right. That's right. And our trails being one way, groomed, they're safe.
Oh yeah.
You know, we have trail monitors out on the track protecting everybody, you know, enforcing the rules and all. And we have a deputy sheriff on the weekends to try to keep the drinking. One thing we do not tolerate, drinking and riding at all.
Yep.
If you come in with a beer in your hand, boom, you cut your armband or you don't even sell them.
Hey,
you know,
no armbands on today.
You know, if you come in at 3 o'clock, want to buy a beer, we cut the armband so they can't get back on the trail system. That's something we're very, very strong against.
Yeah.
And so safety, we present ourselves, we think of ourselves as one of the safest parks in America. we have about 25 two-way radios scattered throughout the trail systems that you can go to a call box, emergency call box. You can call into the lodge from anywhere on the property with any problem, or if you're lost, or you have an issue or an accident or run out of gas or whatever. We have people to go out and deal with that on every day, multiple times a day.
No, there's a place I went to a few years back, and just over the Alabama line, that's for side by sides, and literally, it's just a free for all. And literally, guys are going by at 3 a.m. drinking beer.
Yeah.
There's no direction on the trail. And I'm just like, oh, we're not coming back here. Like, this is crazy. And I'm somewhat of a dumb risk taker.
Yeah.
But for that, it's...
Well,
I like
you
to
might
take
do
risks.
it, but your family's not going to do it.
Well,
you're not going to take your family
no,
to
they
an
talk
environment
about wanting to
doesn't-
go back, and I'm like, no, there's too many factors that are out of control. I like to do calculated dumb things.
Yeah.
Not
Well, that's
something I
different.
can't
You're
tell
right.
somebody coming around the corner doing 70, and these things aren't that safe, like an automobile.
I'm a victim of my own product. In 17, I think it was 2017, 18. I was out on a side by side, brand new, didn't have 1 mile on it. And I went over to the side by side track, and I went out and started doing the course. And I've done it 100 times in a side by side. It's a straight rhythm, go straight out and straight back, just like Pastrana and all them did.
Oh yeah.
So we built one, and
which I gotta say, my buddy and I, he had just quit his job. I called out of work sick, and we came here that day because it, I don't know, mid-30s or early 30s, and we were like, we don't get too many of these opportunities to do this kind of thing. We had the most fun on the straight rhythm course. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's the best place to learn to do jumps.
Yeah,
because you don't have to deal with curves, and it's a constant speed. When it says rhythm, reason it's a rhythm because once you get an established speed, Mark Barnett built it for me, and it's designed to carry the same speed all the way through it. So you learn more and more. But anyway, I was on a side-by-side Arctic, and on the way back, I came to the next to the last jump and hit it, and really don't know what happened, but it kicked through over, landed on the roof. The roof collapsed and drove our heads into the ground head first.
Yeah.
And exploded my number 2 in 8 pieces and damaged him pretty badly. And so we both went through a long
healing process.
He hasn't healed yet, but anyway, I'm a victim of it as well.
Yeah.
And not only that, my dad died as a result of a motorcycle wreck in '85 on a street bike in front of our house. 3 deer ran in front of him, and he went out through the woods and mangled him up. He ended up dying later from that too. And and then my son, he crashed on MX-5.
I reached out to a few people to ask about some things, and that was something Chris said that you might want to.
My son, he's had a accident. Him and one of my trail guys riding one late one Sunday afternoon to determine what work they needed to do on which track and so forth, and he ended up endoing or ran out of gas midair. We're not sure what happened, but anyway, he crashed and sustained a massive brain injury. And he's a product of our own success as well. I mean, the damage. So I know it does happen.
Oh yeah,
it definitely happens out here. Happens at any place. What we try to do is, if you're going to ride, come to a place that provides the safest options possible.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing we do, we have an EMT on site every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So that if there's an accident, we have a med cart built on the side by side to go out and attend immediately. Usually, our response time is usually within 7 minutes of an accident. And the unique thing is that we can get the people back to the paved road, and an ambulance will be there waiting on them, so we can get them to a hospital very quickly. And it's going to happen. There's no way you're going to eliminate every ride place. But if you go out randomly riding on property and so forth, if you have an accident, you don't know when you're going to get help.
Yeah. I remember breaking my wrist on my wife's bike one time in the woods behind my house, and my right wrist, I had no option but to ride out.
Yeah.
Like with a broke wrist.
That's right.
So
we try to provide all the safety issues that we possibly can. The errors, the trails are all arrowed one way.
Yep.
Signage, everybody wants to know who's the sign company because they're making a fortune off of us, but we bought our own sign equipment. Excuse me, we make it all in-house, so we have new signs. We make signs almost every week.
Which I'm going to go ahead and do a selfish plug here. You know, Hard Knocks Racing provides all the signs for Highland Park.
Okay.
So if you need somebody at some point, you let me know, and I'll get you connected with
we
great
figured out
people.
real quick that we were going to have to buy our own, so we do it all in-house.
Oh, damn it.
We have
Okay,
employees.
well, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ann.
Sometimes Parts Unlimited will fly racing,
Oh,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
will provide some paper arrows. Problem with those arrows, they last a year, and you got to replace them. They fade out.
Yep.
So we finally figured out we just had to do vinyl cut signs
Yeah,
and do
yeah,
all our
yeah.
trails to get some longevity out of them. So
Well, if you need, I'll beat up Brandon any day to get you some more free stuff out of, Western. So you
Yeah,
let me know.
yeah.
We're good
I'm
buddies. So
pretty gifted with them because I'm one of their largest dealers.
does
off-road.
Brandon come or does Mark come out
Mark.
here? Mark does.
Mark-
Okay. Well, I know Mark pretty
Waddell,
well too.
He's a winner.
Dude, his kid's freaking moving now.
I just saw on Facebook. He was here Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I just saw on Facebook, and I didn't mention it to him, but his son is doing an article with somebody's interviewing him. I saw some magazine or.
Wouldn't surprise me. Last time I saw him
Yeah.
was at the Charlotte SMX round when he was
He's
racing the
getting
65s.
a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His dad's freaking fast too. I've
See,
raced
I've
him
never
with
seen
Woods and
Mike
stuff.
Mark ride.
Yeah,
He
he
never
can move.
talks about it. He's never said nothing
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. So, I'm sure I knew he came from racing,
hmm
but didn't know how good he still was, or if he still does it.
I don't think he does it anymore. Most of his focus is on his son.
Yeah.
Last time I ran into him was at a Swarks race where he was racing A and something, but
Mm-hmm.
I forget which class it was. But
You know, one of the things we offer here too is we have about 80 cabins, so
Mhm.
people from all over the world come in and out. We have cabins on site, and we have about 200 RV sites
Mhm.
here as well. And we just built a new RV park, right? Just joins us right here on right by the A trails, and
is that part of this or is it
Oh, yeah.
separate?
No, it's
Okay.
all part of the land here. We just took 350 acres. We went in and built 3 lakes on it, and we put RV sites around the lakes.
Okay.
Now, on that area down there, that's going to be mountain bike and e-bikes only.
Oh, okay.
So that's the next phase for Durhamtown,
Yeah.
is getting into the e-bike and the mountain bike industry. So with down there, you got peaceful and quietness. You don't have any of the motorcycle trails. So it's a great place to bring your wife. She wants to relax, read books, or do whatever. And so we got in about 25 miles of e-bike trails right
Mhm.
now that we're supposed to start building a mountain bike park,
Yeah.
technical obstacle park.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just to start that. Some of my employees there are just super excited to get started on that. We've
yeah.
already made the trail systems. Now we just to start putting in all the obstacles.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one of our next projects. And down there, you'll be able to ride your bike from here. So what we're doing, the mountain bike industry, to my knowledge, doesn't have a true resort like Durhamtown is for dirt bikes and ATVs and side-by-sides. Okay? So if they are, there's not many.
Yeah.
Okay? So
I can't think of any, but I'm not connected enough into
but
that.
if you want to travel and go ride your mountain bike, let's say you don't even do motorcycles or none of that stuff, you'll be able to come here, camp, and ride, and your community is down there, but you can also ride your bicycle, your mountain bike or whatever, or e-bike back to here to do lunch in the restaurant,
Yeah.
do dinner, we do steaks and all that in the restaurant at Saturday nights. And, we sell after hours, we sell alcohol here. We have a pro shop, which we'll be adding mountain bike accessories
Yeah.
to that.
Smart.
So with the BMX track back behind here, but we're going to try to offer the mountain bike community the same thing with structure and facilities
Mhm.
and so forth. Showers, power, water, sewer, and internet,
Huh.
all at your RV sites and so forth, Danny, because you can camp on an RV facing the river. And if you go to Little River RV Park, that's the part of Durhamtown that's going to be catered toward those people.
Okay.
And we got 3/4 of a mile along the river, and we got trails all along the river. We got some downhill areas. We're going to go in there and put obstacles on the downhills and do all that stuff.
Mhm.
And also it'll be able to ride golf carts on it. too.
Oh,
But it'll be
all right.
no motorized vehicles other than e-bikes.
Yeah.
We'll allow that, and we're just become a dealer for e-bikes, and we're going to add e-bikes to our rental fleet
Okay.
and mountain bikes.
Yeah, I've got an e-bike. I got a Specialized, so I'm going to make sure to bring that with me next time.
Yeah,
So-
so that's really neat, nice trails. The trails are maintained, they're groomed. You know, anybody can ride them. They're not rutted or anything like that. We try to keep all standing water off the trails. So we'll maintain those just like we do up here on the off-roading.
We were talking about the last show I did with Matt and Terry Lynn. You know what Matt's doing?
Yeah, no,
But
he was big in mountain bike.
Yeah,
I do
but
know
he's in the KTM e-bike side.
Oh, I
of
wasn't
KTM,
aware of that.
Yeah,
well,
so he'd be
I
a
need
good
to get
guy
in
to
touch
reach
with
out
him
to.
then.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, if you see him, tell him to look me up because I'd like to meet with him. Come down
I'll
here
shoot
and
him a text when we're done.
maybe
Yeah.
put some ideas for some more obstacles and so forth.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So we will do a quick little break and show some sponsor stuff. So we'll be right back with you.
Transform your comfort with Innovative Mechanical LLC, specializing in HVAC service for residential and commercial properties. They provide expert installation, maintenance, and repair. Their certified technicians ensure top-notch service, whether it's air conditioning, heating systems, or indoor air quality solutions. Serving Georgia since 1999, they prioritize customer satisfaction, prompt, reliable service at competitive rates. Routine maintenance to emergency repairs. Trust Innovative Mechanical LLC for all your HVAC needs. Give them a call at 770-726-7407 or visit innovativemechanical.llc.com to schedule service and unparalleled comfort today. Our next segment is brought to you by Hard Knocks Racing. They're a group of dedicated motorcycle enthusiasts since 1998. They're your go-to for Campfire Moto official gear. Soon launch an apparel line of their own. They excel in crafting all kinds of custom decals, like this badass sign behind me, from custom signs to full bus wraps and office customization. In fact, check out this work Anthony did at one of the well-known Japanese manufacturer's office who will remain nameless. They also crafted awards for prestigious events such as the Perry Mountain 24-hour race, Mill Creek Spring Classic, Deka Hair Scramble Series, and many more for local racetracks in the Southeast. Check out hardknocksracing.com or give Anthony D'Amico a call at 404-717-480.
And we're back. So, any famous people come through here that kind of shocked you?
Well, yeah, it did in the beginning. It doesn't shock me anymore.
Yeah.
I guess the one that shocked me the most back in maybe 2008 or somewhere was Justin Bieber.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny because with the pro shop, you deal with Fox and Thor and all these, the Answer and all these different brands. And most of them are based out of California for the riding gear and all that. So I have a lot of friends I've met in California at the trade shows and become very close friends with them. So anyway, one day the guy shows up, and I'd never heard of Justin Bieber. Didn't have a clue. So
would he have been big in 08 too? I don't know.
I don't remember if it was exactly 08, but somewhere in his, let me put it this way. I think it was maybe the year he left Canada or he was just coming down. He had gotten popular because, I know this, he came down and some of my employees that had kids knew who he was.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, he's the next biggest thing and all this stuff. So he comes down here and he comes in and I think we had rentals in. So he rents and goes riding. Well, we call up one of the riding gear companies in California and say, hey, Justin Bieber's out here. And of course, they all knew who he was.
Yeah.
And it would be okay if we give him a set of your riding gear and let him wear your brand of gear. And, oh, yeah, man, absolutely. We'll give you the reimbursement on it and another set of gear. So he left the pro shop. Well, within a few minutes, the girl in the pro shop knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she called one of her friends at school. It was a teacher, I think it was, and told her. Well, within a short while, all these people started coming.
No, jeez.
Showing up. Where's Justin Bieber? Where's Justin Bieber? We didn't know, what's going on here? So then he comes back, and kids were asking for an autograph. He wouldn't give it to them. He said, this is my day off.
Yeah.
I'm not giving autographs. Well, celebrity never has a day off.
Yeah.
technically. Well, anyway, that girl goes back on. This has just been when computers and they had these chat rooms or forums.
Instant messenger.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
She goes on and posts that Justin Bieber was here and would not give my daughter an autograph, said this was his day off. One of those Gab magazines, or whatever you call them, Inquirer or something like that, picked it up off the internet. Somehow or another, they found it. Well, next thing I know, she's blasting it all over the radio. And one of my buddies is on the freeway out in Los Angeles, and he's calling me up. He says, Mike, what are we hearing that Justin Bieber is at Durhamtown? And I'm still somewhat ignorant, you know. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How do you know this? He says, oh, man, they all over the radio. Everybody's talking about how that's a bad thing for him to do and all this stuff. That was just one of the situations. We have a lot of, we used to get a lot of the professional football players, baseball players. We get a lot of NASCAR.
I could see that, especially side-by-side stuff.
And when they come, they bring a group, and they own side-by-side, because a lot of them are sponsored by different brands and all that stuff. So they'll, we don't like to broadcast people because when a person comes to Durhamtown, I don't care where you come.
They're coming to get away.
You're coming here to be a normal person.
Yep.
You're not coming here to be a celebrity.
Yep.
And yes, there's been hundreds of them here, but we don't brag about it. We don't post names and so forth because I don't want people coming here looking for it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So we respect, so that's why a lot of them come here. When they do come here, they film in movies in Atlanta. And we
there is a ton of that.
A ton of those guys out here. And when they're here, we never let anybody know they're on the property.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come. The only way you'll know it, they come with an entourage of vehicles.
Yeah.
You can always tell when it comes 6 or 7 blackout SUVs. It's somebody. So you can always tell. But hey, we welcome everybody. We treat everybody. I don't care who you are. You'll be sitting at the table. The good thing is, the unique thing is, you'll be sitting at the table, and a lot of people don't recognize the person sitting at the other table.
Yeah.
You see them on TV, but you don't think you're going to ever see them.
Yeah.
But you might think, wow, that guy looks like so-and-so.
Yeah.
But not knowing it's really him.
Yeah. And they could easily play it off as like, I get that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of them, they'll go by a different name.
Oh, yeah.
We see that a lot.
That makes sense.
And I respect that because they don't want to be.
Well, a lot of them, their real name is different what they're known as, and they need to sign in as what their real name is too. So
we'll throw one out. One guy, Ludacris.
Oh, yeah.
This was the place that he came to have time with his daughter.
I could see that. Yeah, being in Atlanta. It makes sense.
People don't know who Ludacris' real name is. I've heard it. If you say it, I'll remember it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there again, he comes out here. Well, hadn't seen him recently, but he'd come out here with his daughter, and this is his getaway place. He'd come out here on Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, Father's Day, those type of holidays. He'd ask her, what do you want to do? And she'd say, go to Durhamtown. He'll come out. And he's just a normal person walking around.
I was going to say, he seems like he'd be pretty cool.
He's pretty laid back.
Yeah.
But there's always somebody that resembles a movie star, so you can blow it off.
Yeah. Talking with somebody that I know that is in that world, they even say like the real stars are some of the coolest down to earth people. Yeah. It's always the ones that are like B actors that are kind of the assholes that think they're the shit. And
they try to be somebody they aren't. Yeah. Another one, a good friend I made friends with was Tony Stewart. He's actually he poured 5 cement pads down here to park his campers on, his motorhomes on when they come in and so forth. But since he's gotten married and got a child, we haven't seen him in a few years. He's changed his direction in life.
So has there been any strange visitors that you've, like, over the time? Any group of people or strange things that's people that have come through?
I don't know about people. We've had 3 reports of a Yeti being out.
I wasn't sure if you ever had that, and I doubt it, but like, you ever heard of the furries kind of thing?
No.
It's like people that dress in cat costumes.
Oh,
no. I wasn't sure if you ever had any.
Now, Halloween, we do see that.
Well, yeah.
But not we have big Halloween party. Every holiday, we have a live band.
Yep.
And we're sitting in one of the areas, the bars right there, and we put the band on the stage. And if it's weather not good outside, we come back in here and do it. But normally we sit on the pro shop front deck, and everybody can drive up with their rides and be out in front of the band and everything.
Now you
And a
say that
tiki
was
bar
a
out
lot.
there.
Like when I talked with you about doing the show was the Halloween weekend. I didn't realize that you guys did something. It was really cool.
Yeah.
The kid got to go around trick or treating, but he
Yeah.
was so upset because we didn't bring a costume because
Yeah,
we
well,
didn't
you
know
don't
that
need
was
one.
going on. So
They just, a lot of them take their helmets for the bucket.
Yep.
And walk around with their helmets.
Yeah,
So
nobody cared
We
they
ask
didn't
all
have a
the
costume.
campers to do candy giveaways.
Yep.
We do it all here and everywhere. So.
One of the guys that was staying in the camper there, I recognized him because we were riding at Fannin the week before together, and he's like, I felt so bad, so I went in and bought a bunch of candy to give out to the kids.
Yeah.
Like he came in here to give them out.
Some of them do. Right. We see it all.
So I was told from April to ask you about maybe some crazy things that's happened in the coop house. Any
the
story?
chicken. Oh, you
any
talking about
stories
the,
for that?
The chicken house.
I guess that's.
Yeah, we took one of our chicken houses.
I think it
that
was the
we grew up raised
Western
chicken.
around when Western would come for their dealer.
yeah.
The parties.
Dealer
they would do.
appreciation
Yeah.
days, and they'd come out. Yeah, we've had some wild parties over there. We took a big area in the chicken house, half of a chicken house, turned it into a bar area,
Mm-hmm.
event area, whatever, stage and big long 30-foot bar and all that stuff.
I've been to several of them because I've always been a part of the industry.
I guess one of the wildest things we had in that one weekend, we decided or was approached to have a digital music festival here on the property. So we agreed to it, not knowing what we was getting into. So all of a sudden, here comes all this stuff coming in, and we ended up with 70 bands that played on 5 different stages we had here.
Oh, wow.
From 6 o'clock on Friday night until 6 o'clock on Monday morning is when they stopped. Non-stop. And we had one of the popular places was actually inside the chicken house. We call it the Red Rooster.
Yeah.
So in there, that was pretty wild of I guess half-dressed women is the best way to describe it. No, more so painted women.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting group of people there that we had at those
Maybe that fits
events.
with the strangest.
Yeah, we
people that come
also
through.
had the Moonshine Festival up there when Moonshine got real big. We had several. I became good friends with Mark on Moonshiners, and up at he lived up there where I had my park, and we filmed some of the shows on our park up there back in the woods and so forth. And so we had a big festival down there where we had a barbecue contest and had I don't know, about 20 different flavors, about 10 different vendors of moonshine up there. And that weekend got pretty wild. We had lawnmower races on the flat track. We had a big freestyle park during that time too, where all the freestylers from the Northeast would come down here and they'd hang out and spend months here and go out to the different shows. This was a pivot point for the different shows all over the Southeast.
Mm-hmm.
They were some interesting people. Those guys, no fear, young, no fear, and party to the max. They get paid on Sunday night after the shows, and they're broke on Tuesday. They stay in the town that they're performing in, partying until they run out of money.
They go on to the next one.
They'll have just enough money and gas to get back here and maybe enough money to get back to the next show.
Yeah.
On the next weekend.
That's for
But actually, one of them is working here, moved down and just came back, and he's working for me, and his wife works in the pro shop now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they've all gotten older and smarter now.
Yeah. So you had said about that one that kind of started it this time and ended at that time. It made me a little light bulb go off. Have you ever thought about doing like a 24-hour event of some kind, either like a race or something like that?
We did that one time. I know we did several 12-hour races. We did several 6-hour races with dirt bikes. This is back when Two Wheel Tuesday was on TV.
Yeah.
They would come out and do live shows on our events and stuff. And we used to have our own half scramble series. And we've done basically any activity you can do on off-road. We've done them here.
Yeah.
We still currently have a kids, when I say kids, we're talking about 14 years and younger, MX series on our Pee Wee track.
Yeah.
And we get about 175, 200 entries once a month on it, and which is very large for a Pee Wee race.
Yeah.
But it's the starting grounds for so many kids, Durhamtown is. And then I remember one year at the Loretta's, we had 11 of our kids that qualified for Loretta's. It started here. And now we still do the side-by-side. We do two types of racing for side-by-sides. We do the short course racing, which is on our GP track.
Yep.
And that's very competitive. And then at night, we do a endurance race, which they run through 11 miles of trails through the woods at nighttime. And they have a timed race on that as well. Now, we run that event spring and fall, and now we're getting national attention on that as well.
It's funny. I usually try to park where the chicken coop is. Like, I like that RV spot because it's close to the bomber, it's close to Pee Wee track.
Right.
And I didn't, like, one time I was here for trying to book those spots for a race, and I was like, why is it, that's never sold out?
You're
what the hell? And yeah, they were all taking
when
that
they come
whole
in,
thing was.
they are big. They bring their big rigs in. Matter of fact, we have one in 2 weeks, I think. It'll be our first one for this season, starting back. Yeah, some of our racers were just out in California doing the King of the Hammers. I think we had about 5 of them out there doing that.
Yeah, and I think I heard McGrath won that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just know on the side-by-side, out of 60 or 70 entries, I think our guy came in, I want to say 10th.
Okay.
C.J. Greaves was a pretty national known guy, and that's who our guys was riding with. And then one of our guys is into the racing of the dune buggy, of the Beetles.
Yeah.
Volkswagen Beetles.
Yeah.
And he went out and did the Beetle race out there. And in my opinion, that's a race to see who can get the furthest before they break down.
Before they break down.
I don't think it's to the finish line. I think they measure.
You're going there with a
now.
car, not expecting it to.
But he brought them out
through.
here. He has 3 of them that he races, and he brought them out here. And there's some other guys. We had 5 one weekend. That one of our side-by-side races, we had the Volkswagen Beetles racing as well. That's pretty crazy. Those guys.
So also, I was told to ask you about maybe a birthday party with some ladies in the lodge that you had one time.
Oh.
Do you want to go into that story, or maybe we don't talk about it? I just know some people came and some words were exchanged because you guys were going too hard or loud or something.
Not sure exactly. I know when I turned 50, they blacked out the lodge and they had a surprise birthday party with the Big Don band playing. Some strippers came in. My fiance. At the time, she brought the strippers in, and I noticed they put black paper over all the windows, and I couldn't figure out what's going on here because I wasn't aware of it. It was all surprise. And then I found out why they did it because they didn't want all the kids peeping in the windows.
Yeah, which is fair.
Yeah, we've had some wild parties in that lodge. Yeah, that's no doubt about it. We first started out in the 2005, 6, 7, 8, and all that area. We have girls, had a good stereo system and had a pool table in there, and we had a bar in there that we kept running till usually 2 or 3 o'clock every single night, but Monday nights. And but on the weekends, we would be in there, and the girls would be all up on counters dancing. And we've seen it all. We had a hot tub right here in this back room over here, and that became a popular party spot as well.
Well, honey, I'm turning 40 this year, so if you want to, maybe take a page off of, Mike's fiance's book, maybe, you got any big events around November 4th? Maybe I get her to do it out here.
My birthday's on the 15th of November, so usually we have a party live band around that time. There's 4 or 5 people here that have birthdays in November. So that's a big party month for us.
Do a joint birthday thing.
Actually, the week of Thanksgiving, the 10 days, which means the Friday before Thanksgiving through the Sunday after, is our busiest 10 days of the year.
I was going to say, Billy told me that. One time he said, I was there on a Thanksgiving weekend. Every single spot was sold out as far as every camping spot. And Like he said, it was the craziest like he'd ever seen.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he said himself was trying to calculate how much money was brought in that day. And I was like, so I don't know if that's something you'd even want to get into. Do you know those figures from that, like just that one day, or maybe no?
No,
you
I
don't
only
wanna
say
go into
by
that.
the day. I don't measure nothing by the day.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we could do a daily ride count, but sometimes the numbers scare people away from coming. That's
Oh,
why I
yeah.
don't like to broadcast them. But our numbers since COVID has actually reduced, and we did that on purpose because we were getting too many of the, I called it undesirables, and that would be the groups. We had gangs coming out here.
Oh,
We
wow.
had pimps coming out here. We had drug dealers coming out here, bringing their entourages. The place
Mhm.
smelled like marijuana, and it just got to the place we were family oriented.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to lose my families and end up just with those guys.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with those guys. They're fun. I mean, they brought a lot of money, but
Yeah.
it wasn't about the money. It was about the family experience we were losing.
Yep.
So we shut down for 2 months and did a total reset. Went in, rebuilt all of our trail systems for the first time in 20 years, and did a total reset of the whole property, and then reopened and bringing a deputy sheriff out, and that that kind of puts everything in check before they get out. When they get out of the car and before they come in here, they know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I, like you mentioned a while ago, kicking a lot of people off. I've kicked a lot of people.
That
off.
literally is my next thing
telling you,
is that I
man.
was going to ask is how many people you've had to boot.
Oh
like,
God, hundreds, hundreds and hundreds.
What's
and
probably the
hundreds.
most common thing?
Drinking.
Yeah.
Most common, and disrespect, going backwards on the trail after being warned.
Yeah.
Disrespect. Whether you're in a parking lot or whether you're on the trails or wherever, I expect you to show respect to my customers and to my property.
Yeah.
Okay, so as being private property, I do have the right to ask you to leave.
Yeah.
Okay, it's private property. So if you're going to be disrespectful and you're bringing in 35, 40 in your group and you're all huddled up over there smoking your pot and drinking shotgun and beers before you go on the trail, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You're out of it. This is just not the place for that. There are places that's okay.
Like the place I was talking
And
about.
I'm not going to call names, but, when you promote that type of activity, you end up with only those type of people.
Yeah.
And then what you end up with is tons of problems.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the places we were talking about, we ran a lot of people out of here and they went there. Well, after a year or so, the owner had hired some security officers, which were deputy sheriffs. And I get a phone call one day and these two deputies saying, hey, Mike, this is so-and-so up here in mountains of North Georgia, and we're doing security on this ride park up here. Man, we just don't want to do it no more. We've been out here at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get dead people or massively injured people out with helicopters or whatever, and drinking and riding. And, we've had guns pulled on us. We've had knives pulled on us. We've had a tire shot. It's just not something we want to work in this environment anymore because we don't have the support to curtail it.
Yep.
And want to know if I needed some, would I be interested in hiring them for security down here? And I laughed and I said, well, we really don't need security anymore because we sent all the people up there. I said, we don't have problems anymore. He said, yeah, I know, we got them. That's where they all came from. I said, well, I'm sorry. We just put the rules down. And the biggest thing is we enforce rules. That's what we make a rule to enforce it.
Yeah.
We don't make a rule for certain ones and not the others. I don't care who you are. I've asked some of my very best friends that's been here for years, when they start taking it for granted and thinking they can get away with stuff, I just tell them get off property and leave and don't come back.
Yeah.
And I've lost friends because of that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do it.
It is, to run a public place like this,
Yeah.
and if you promote your place as safe, you better prove it.
Yeah.
That's my number one thing is safety.
So you kind of touched on the when you closed down to revamp it. That's kind of around the time that you after it was done being revamped is when you kind of retired and let kind of thing. It was your brother that took it over,
my
right?
My health got so bad. I was in kidney failure, and after the first kidney transplant, within about a year or so, I had the accident where I landed on my head.
On your head, yeah.
Exploded that. So, and then after that, my health even my kidney was rejected, and I had to go through I was on dialysis for 5 years and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to find another kidney. And so anyway, it just got to the point that I didn't see a big future for me, a long future. It was within months. And I had chosen to accept that path, and I brought my brother in, turned things over to him. And so he is running the show with a lot of the same people and some more of them. A good leadership here. We got great team working on the property now. We're actually running 50% less people on the property for work and trolling and trail maintenance and all that. And we're in better shape than we were when we had 80 employees at one time. And but my hell, I get to come down here and enjoy what goes on and just kind of tool around and enjoy the time. I'm around here. My son, I got 2 grandkids.
Yeah, I usually see him up at the counter playing Fortnite.
Yeah, and then I got a 4-year-old that just got on a Stacy bike last week. And in 3 days, he's 4-year-old. In 3 days, he burnt the motor up, broke the chain, and destroyed the transmission. So bought him another one. And now we're a dealer for them. I figure if I'm going to go through them, I might as well be a dealer.
Yeah.
So we're a dealer for Stasic bikes, and we sell them at a discount. And so now he's back out there, and he's already on full high speed to go. And he's been over to the Supercross. I mean the Arena-Cross track.
Yeah.
He's already wanting to climb those, and all he rides around and said, "Papa, I want to go race. Papa, I want to go race."
Dude, the KTM EE2 that my kid has, absolutely loves it. It's actually a little bit better than the Stasic as far as quality and stuff alone. But the biggest difference with it is the Stasic. My kid is looped out. Oh, that KTM, I literally, if you go and grab it full throttle, it doesn't move. I've only tested it once, but I was curious about that.
Oh, it's got a restriction.
If they go from 0 to 100 like that, now if you start rolling and then whiskey, it's the same thing.
That's the same thing.
But yeah, like that's probably gonna be a good step for him. I'd recommend going with that one. No, and I gotta say, I always try to reach out to people. That's why I got stuff from Chris in April to try to get like some stories, some things I should bring up. Right, those 2 ladies at the front, they're solid for you. Oh, yeah. Because last night when I checked in to get my campsite stuff, I told them what I was doing, was like trying to get some stories, and they were just like, I'm not giving anything to I was like, I won't say who gave it to me, I promise. And they still were like, nope. So you got some loyal employees there.
Yeah,
so.
I've calmed down now. I don't get to go out and raise cane anymore.
I've got most of the things done here. You honestly, a lot of the stuff that I had in here, you just talked on your own about. I didn't even bring it up. Oh, one thing we talked about the rentals. How many rough guess of how many rentals have been totaled and they had to buy them? Because that's part of it, right?
Oh, yes. We require a deposit, a damage deposit. So if you go out on a dirt bike, I want to think it's around $1,500 because it'd be hard, maybe $1,000. Yeah. That it's hard to do that much damage to a bike other than blowing a motor up. Yeah. And then like the ATVs, I think it's $2,000 or something like that, $2,500, because you can do a little bit more damage. And if you wrap it into a tree, you're going to do a lot more damage. Side-by-sides, what cured our problem with them, we were destroying side-by-sides. I had about 25 of them. 900 Ranger Polaris Razors. Yeah. And the sport version and the extra wide ones, Razor S. And our deposit was like $1,500 back in the day. And they would go out and they would wreck these things. Well, $1,500 is very little damage on one. I mean, they can get up there real quick. So we actually had to have 2 fleets, one fleet that we were working on and another fleet that we was renting. So, but now we've raised our rates up some and raised our deposits up. So a deposit on a Razor is $4,500. Yeah. Now when you go riding, you're thinking a little bit more cautiously about tearing this machine up because you got more money in it. Yep. In the game, and that cured a lot of our foolishness. But the worst people we have on the property is we do a lot of corporate retreats, and we love them. We encourage them. But the problem with it is what I call numb money. which means it's just a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And these people coming out here with no accountability because the company's paying for it.
Oh,
So
yeah,
they run
yeah.
out there and run crazy and they tear stuff up. I mean, they probably have totaled over the years at least 10 or 15 or 20 units. At least razors. And they have to pay for it.
Yep.
Of course, to them, they just run it on company card. And they're the worst people. But the worst part of that for us, we don't like that, is it takes that unit out of service.
Yeah. The next.
Or in a lot of times I have to replace it.
Yep.
And that model is not replaceable any longer. Players quit making it. So that's why when we raised our prices, it cut a lot of that down, except for the corporate side of it.
Oh, that's smart.
So they do rollovers. I mean, it's like anything. You take it to the limit. You got to use common sense.
A lot of people just don't understand. Like coming from, I even had a gnarly one in a side-by-side that was a demo from BRP that I got to ride, and it literally just caught traction when I didn't think it was. I thought it was going to keep going and then sent into a tree. So, but a lot of people that don't even know like what to expect, what the feel or how, or spatial awareness.
That's right.
The
number one damage, I'd say one of the more common damages or accidents we have is people doing donuts.
Oh,
they don't realize. I mean, it's fun, but when you're sitting there going around and around, you're digging dirt, and eventually you've got that tire rolled under, and eventually you're gonna get dry dirt.
Yep.
And when you get the dry dirt, it catches.
Yep.
And then it starts flipping.
Yep.
And then when you flip one doing that, you typically do you tweak everything in the machine up pretty bad.
Yeah, I literally tell anybody who I let take my side by side, I'm like, look, I don't care if you go send whatever jump out here on the GP track. You can go as fast as you want on the turbo track. I'm like, you will not do a donut. Trust me.
Exactly
do not try doing that. It's the stupidest freaking
It's
thing.
bad. And the other thing is with that GP track, people don't know how to jump them. And an example, a guy yesterday came to the pro shop looking for rear axles for Can-Am the RR model.
Oh yeah, those things are freaking bad.
Yeah,
they're so cool.
But he didn't know how to jump, because what happens when they go over the jump, people tend to let off the gas.
Yep.
They get a little scared. When you let off the gas, your wheel spin slows down.
Yep.
Okay, and then you begin a nosedive. But your travel speed is what you went into it at.
Yep.
Engine braking stops the wheels. When you land, and that tilts you over, and then when you land, you're landing nosedive.
Yep.
And then the wheels are going to catch and try to catch up with travel speed. And travel speed and wheel speed are 50 miles an hour per hour different, and something's got to break.
Yeah.
Either your axle brake or your belt brakes. Most times your axle first.
Yeah.
And, we try to keep every part we can in stock, but we'd already sold the one this week we had, so we'll have another one by Tuesday. But, we try to stock as many parts in that pro shop for as many brands that we possibly can of things that you can bolt on while you're here, which is belt, axles, spark plug with dirt bike is grips, handlebars, levers, tires, tubes. That's one of the big things is people come out here and they don't check the air pressure in their tires, and they spokes are punched. This hard clay is a little different. They come from Florida. They used to sand. They don't get the damage as bad. But the funny thing about the Floridians is when you go in a turn in Florida, you give it gas.
Yep.
Coming out the turn, because
you have to carry the momentum in the sand. Yeah.
So they come here and they do the same thing, and typically within hour and a half of them riding, they're back in here looking for bandages and stuff put on their elbows, because they've already gone down on their knees and their elbows already. So we call that the Floridian kiss. Is what it is, a red clay.
That's funny. Yeah. No, I mean, from Florida, there's not much clay aspects that you have to deal with down there. The reason I knew about the rental thing too is I remember like a friend telling me about how his friend came out and literally had to just pull out the Amex card and was like, here you go, and paid for it and brought the thing home on a trailer. Either bought a trailer or borrowed one and brought a total side-by-side.
I saw one leave yesterday, left early. Come in for a 3-day trip, see him on the first afternoon or first night heading home in pieces.
Yeah.
We had to build a recovery vehicle to go behind a tractor very similar to what you see in a rollback.
Oh, yeah.
To go in under the wheel so we can pick one end of it up.
Yeah.
And then bring it out with a tractor. So we've had to create a recovery vehicle just for that, side by side.
Hell, last time I was here, there was a side by side that burned to the ground out on the trails.
I've seen several of them. Several got ATV burnt side by side. That's probably been 4 or 5 side by sides burn up.
And I'm almost willing to bet that it's almost always because of the stupid lights that they put on them, or like they wired something in weird.
I'll tell you what, it happens more than anything.
Really? Okay.
Fuel, all the jumping, fuel line comes loose.
Oh.
And then it hits the manifold or spark. And they burn it.
Interesting.
I see that more than anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that.
Loose.
Yeah, I just figured it was like them putting
to
a
burn
bunch
these
of wires
things up,
and
you
stuff
got to
in.
have a constant flow of fuel to the fire. So just something small is not going to ignite that machine.
Oh, that makes sense.
It takes a pretty good flow of fuel to make it happen.
Yeah. So, you had kind of mentioned a little bit about like the kids that come through and stuff, and I believe you knew Dalton Hill.
Oh yeah. He raced out here.
Yeah, that was something that,
that
I
was
can't
a
remember
very
who told
sad
me.
tragedy.
We played a video from his funeral on the last show and met with him, and just super sad to hear
It's
about.
a horrible thing to go through.
But I wasn't sure how close you knew him, or.
I did not know him personally.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw his picture, I recognized I seen him coming in, around here and all. And but he did race in our series, and Ann, our race director, she was close to him and all. And but it was definitely a tragedy for everybody.
Yeah.
On that, and unfortunately, I mean, it happened. It's going to happen again. I mean, I still say that riding at Durhamtown is safer than riding on 285.
No, and that was another thing too. When you're talking about all the crashes and crazy stuff that's going on, God, driving through Atlanta every day, it's.
I mean, I-20, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had people on the way here. We one of our EMTs was just crossing over 316 on the way to come to work that morning. The car ran a red light and hit him, killed him.
Jeez.
I mean, you just don't
never know.
It doesn't matter if it's on a motorcycle or what. Things are going to happen.
Oh yeah.
I don't care where you are.
No, and I'm definitely live my life with the just like don't think about those, just to keep you from living. Enjoy the hell out of it.
You try to use common sense the best you can. Yep. But you just
which my wife will say I don't have a lot of.
Yeah,
but,
a lot of us don't. But you just want to keep just keep moving forward in life.
Yeah.
You can't live in the past.
Yep. What was when I was here last, and I don't know if you want to go into the details of it and stuff, but there was some investigator guy that came out with some thing, and I remember you telling me like the people that he called to get more information all had like good things to say, but he didn't put that in the interview. Do you want to go into that, or do you know
I
what
don't
I'm talking
remember
about?
which one particular, but we have so many investigations.
I think it was the freestyle crash that got the ramps taken away.
Oh, that was a long
and
time
then
ago. Yeah.
You said his name. I can't remember his name. It was some guy that's well known with the news channel.
Oh, Dale Russell.
Yeah. So I guess he had done and called a bunch of people, but he said something.
Yeah, Dale. He's not a fan of mine by any means. They take 5 different sentences and they'll chop it into one sentence to twist it the way they want to get the most attention. And that was when the kid got killed with the freestyle ramps, and they come out here, and at that time I think he said he reached out to almost 100 people that had accidents here, and not a single one of them had a bad thing to say about it.
Yeah. But he didn't include that.
No, absolutely not. No, he interviewed the conversation leading up to it, but he would stop the interview before anything good was said. He was just trying to make it sound bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tragic experience for all of us. But the way they twisted that story is when I started understanding what Donald Trump says today, how the media would twist stuff to make a sale to get it to certain people. And that's exactly what happened with that. I have no respect for any investigators on TV or anything like that, because they're not going to say the truth. They're going to say what they want it to be to sell ads.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. But that was a positive thing for us, because he did make a comment. He said, well, if this goes your way, meaning that he was hoping we would get shut down. But if it didn't get shut down, it would be going what I call my way. He said, if it goes my way, he says, one thing for sure, you're going to get the most free advertisement that we've ever given to anybody, because they did that play out over a whole week. We're doing an investigation, and they would start it like at lunchtime, and then they say, at 6 o'clock, tune in tonight at 6 o'clock. We got an update. Then tune in again at 11 o'clock. And they did that for like 3 days. So the word Durhamtown and what we were doing
for that.
And the thing about it, and the comments that all came back to me, hundreds of them, was anybody with any common sense saw through what he was trying to do. And said, you know what? Riding is a choice.
Yep.
Okay, it doesn't matter, street bike, dirt bike, whatever, snow skiing, all these different things.
Yeah.
It's a choice. And the bottom line was that, you know what? The person made a choice, an accident happened.
Yeah.
That was not Mike McCommons' fault.
Yeah.
And I've been accused of being the cause of some accidents, which again goes back to lawyers and media.
Yeah.
So I've learned not to respect anybody in that form of
no,
business.
and even like close friends of mine that have had accidents and stuff, and will kind of start to like blame something else and I'm like, no, take a step back. What were you doing? Oh, that, and then that happened. Like, come on, you got to take.
They don't want
people just don't naturally.
They don't take responsibility for their own action, and they look for somebody to pay for their lack of common sense.
Yeah,
or following the rules or whatever you want to do. I mean, it's in everything, but it's in this business too, which is the bad part, which is why nobody wants to help be in this business. And, it's just, you take a risk by being in this business, but I look at the good compared to the bad.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge
I bet it far outweighs
it.
And,
when you look at these kids and they smile, they come up and pet my dog, and they come into pro shop and they're so proud, and I put a BP sticker on their helmet, tell them that's their Go Fast sticker, and they just come back and tell me how fast they are now and things like that. I mean, I really love the kids and the families. So I guess one of the strongest parts, people come up to me, parents, and they'll tell me they want to thank me for Durhamtown, that Durhamtown helped turn their problem child around. Okay. That the strength of riding a dirt bike or going to Durhamtown was enough strength to leverage them to do good, whether it's grades in class or whatever. And it does take families that have been separated. It helps bring them back together.
Yeah.
It's just something about riding and being in the woods and stuff that it does tend to bring people together.
Sure.
And it builds friendships in every aspect. I mean, all my strongest friends are people I met from here for riding. When I used to ride dirt bikes, I'd go to Colorado and Moab and places like that. And those are some of my fondest memories.
Oh, yeah.
And they're my fondest friends. Can we take a break for a second?
Sure.
This show is brought to you by MX201 Track Designs, founded by Matt Shue, a former pro supercross and motocross racer who made a name for himself in the 90s and early 2000s.
There is Shue, the local favorite from LJ, Georgia, is in third. He goes down in the corner. He's no longer in third place.
MX201 Track Designs brings decades of hands-on expertise to the motocross world.
Matt's racing career took him across the globe, competing at the highest level and learning firsthand what makes a track not only fun, but challenging and safe. Since stepping away from racing, Matt has used his extensive knowledge to help design, build, and manage a variety of tracks in the Southeast. Locations like AmpMX, Highland Park Resort, Synergy Cycle Park. Trust MX201 as he's earned a reputation for creating top-notch riding experiences. Whether you're dreaming of a custom public track, private motocross facility, or even a backyard woods loop for the kiddos, MX201 Track Designs offers solutions that are as unique as your vision, and he'll offer custom solutions that are tailored to your budget. Visit mx201trackdesign.com or call 678-628-4892 to get started on designing your perfect track today. And when you do, be sure to mention Campfire Moto Stories to Matt. And we're back. Mike had to handle some business. Man's always working, even though he's retired, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, thanks to our sponsors there for the little plugs I just threw in, Hard Knocks Racing and MX201 Tracks Designs, not builders, and Innovative Mechanical LLC. Do you know Matt at all? Your shoe?
Matt Shue?
Mhm.
I know him.
Yeah, that's who's MX201 Track Designs. So, doing other stuff as plug since the sign one didn't work,
I got you.
If you need some track redone or want some new track built, maybe,
Well,
you guys have a guy for that, right?
Yeah, we do. And it's to the point that it seems like everybody that comes here wants to try to hire him
Yeah.
to go out and build their tracks, maintain their tracks.
Oh, yeah.
But he's loyal to me, so I appreciate that.
Oh, that's nice.
He's been doing it he's been working for me since 95.
All right, so was he
In
the
my
guy?
landscape business.
We were here for one of the Western Power Sports dealer things, and you went up and were like, "Hey guys, I just found out that the guy that takes care of the tracks hit a deer on the way into work this morning, and none of the tracks got groomed. So you shut down the track. Like, was that
No,
him?
that's a different guy. There's been a lot of guys that came here saying they know how to do it, and they really don't. I mean, can they run a Bobcat? Yeah. Do they know what the final product should be? No. And that's one thing that Lindo learned from the very beginning. It's funny how he started. He came here and didn't speak any English, and was basically a guy just running a rake, spreading mulch on my landscape crew. And so over the years in landscaping, he learned to operate my skid steers. And everything we did at the lake was all drainage oriented for the homes and yards and all. So we come out here and we started building, and how we built the very first track was up there near MX1. It was the MX1. That was the only track at the time, but I had never seen a track in my life. That wasn't him. And a guy brought some magazines down here. So at first we just had all trails. So we were going to build a track. Everybody kept saying, build a track, build a track. Well, I didn't know nothing about a track. So he brings a magazine in, and Lindo comes in here and he looks at it and he flips the pages. He looks at 2 or 3 pages. He leaves and goes up there and works for about 4 hours. He comes back. He says, come look. And then you go out there and he said, you like? I couldn't tell him what was good or bad. I didn't know. So I did have a guy that brought the magazine. He'd go out there and write it, and he would point, broken English, which way, we need to adjust it and all that. And of course, he's definitely got it so dialed in. He can go out right now and just take anything in the woods, and when you leave, when he gets through, it'll be a perfect track every time.
That's pretty cool.
And if it's something that needs adjustment, he'll go back, he'll listen to people, and he'll go back and do adjustments. And sometimes he'll just take it upon himself. I'll have people come in and say, oh, when did you change these jumps on such and such track? And I said, I'm not sure we did. Oh, yeah, man, they're different. And kind of find out Lindo just one day just go out there and
fix it up. Yeah, and one other thing I was going to hit on kind of before we wrap it up is you were talking about the kids and how it saves some of them. I mean, just think about how many, proud first kids had for things, like either a jump or just, riding a clutch for the first time or any of that stuff. So that's really, really cool of you doing this, because I feel like a lot of people they wouldn't take the risk that you guys did. So.
No, that's the problem with the tracks, lawsuits and lawyers. They just see it as opportunity.
Yep.
It doesn't. I've learned something about the lawyers in the jury system. It doesn't matter what's right or wrong. Lawyers, it's a charade show. They're trained to manipulate people's thoughts, and they are trained to pick a jury to sway the way they want it to go.
Yep.
And it's not hard to find 12 people that's not familiar with off-road riding or any kind. So now they can portray that as that's the worst thing you could ever do.
Yep.
And they're going to find blame on somebody else for building it. And then, so therefore, it's all people manipulation.
Oh yeah.
And it's sad, and it makes it difficult for people. But I do want to insert this. The electric bikes is going to change the motocross park because to the good. And let me tell you why. The reason no one wants to accept a motocross park in their area, and you mentioned earlier about people hearing it. And I'm going to take the track up in Monroe. Is a perfect example.
Yeah, they can't start till noon.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know why all this goes down? Because, first of all, that was a landfill.
Yep.
They brought some clay in and covered it up and built a track on it because it was a non-usable piece of property.
Yeah.
So the guy puts a track on it. And it was outside the city limits. It was out where there was no housing. And that track ran for years with no objection. As land began to get developed within a mile of it, they could hear it. Okay. So why is that a problem? This is my theory on that, and I've proven it in many cases. Sound is the number one enemy of a motocross track in a populated area.
Yep.
Because sound pollution. Now, what is it they don't like about it? I'll tell you what it is. A person hates his job, pissed at his wife. Nothing in life is good.
Yeah.
He's mad at the world, but you hear someone on a motocross bike or dirt bike or side by side, whatever. You
Living
hear
their best life.
Okay. You can hear someone having fun and someone is happy.
Yeah.
And it's their goal is to make everybody unhappy like them.
Yeah.
That's the goal of those type of people.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I'm sitting out here and I hear these guys having fun over there. That's nothing I can do in my life to have fun, so they shouldn't have fun either.
Yeah.
So we're just going to destroy their opportunity of having fun.
Yeah.
And what the electric bike is going to do, that same facility, if it went all electric, you would never know when they opened or closed.
Yeah.
You would never hear one.
Yep.
Never
as long as
hear
you keep
one.
the dust down, you would not have a single person that could say anything
You're
about
right.
it.
The dust, and that can be managed
Easy.
pretty easily.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's the sound that you can't handle. And that's what the problem I always had was and I said this when they came out with 4-strokes.
Yeah.
And they started doing these aftermarket mufflers. Add power and sound.
Yeah.
That 4-stroke sound travels so much further than the decibels of a 2-stroke.
Yep.
Now, a 2-stroke sound fizzles out within a quarter mile.
Yeah.
I mean, we could sit right here and never hear one up on those tracks up there right now. But right now, I'm listening. I can hear 4-strokes in the background.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you change the exhaust on a 4-stroke and made it quieter, that wouldn't be a problem either.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear near the problem.
Yeah.
But that's what's driving. That's why facilities are not going to won't accept any motocross parts or tracks or anything.
Yeah.
But with electric bikes, you could put one on every other corner and no one would ever complain.
Yeah.
Put one in your backyard. I mean, people are going to do that.
Yep.
With electric bikes.
I've been trying to figure out a way to con my wife into letting me somehow get a piece of property and put like a building, like not concrete floor, but yeah, just an overshed kind of thing, like electric only. Because you could do it right there in Kennesaw.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many people. It's
No
like
one
make it
ever knows.
Saran. Like not even for the Stark stuff. I mean, I feel like the Starks almost would be too big, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and you could have so much fun just playing music and just make it like, you know, a fun thing to
enjoyable.
come through. Yeah, to go to.
You know, there's places up in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. I know people have told me about it and shown me pictures of it. They'll actually put a motocross park inside of a metal building, a full-blown park, just like the Omni, but it'll just be a big warehouse. And they'll rent it, and then they'll go in there and run a track on it.
Yeah.
And they do rotations on it.
I feel like it would be pretty cool if somehow somebody could acquire a mall for cheap enough that could do it. Because malls are gone. They're going under,
they're done.
you know?
They're done.
So Amazon killed them. But like to run one through a mall. You know what I mean? That would be pretty awesome. Because especially if you have like a second story and then you could fill it in, right? Like there's a way to do it. But man, how cool would that be to have something like that?
A true motorsports facility.
Yeah.
From remote cars all the way up to the big dirt bikes.
That's not, because I was like, we could do it this way, and then we could have like a section for like RC cars, like, because, a lot of fun. We got any other stories or stuff you want to bring up before we wrap this thing up?
I've got some things I got to go tend to.
Okay.
So,
well, Mike, I greatly appreciate you. Yeah, I greatly appreciate you doing this, man.
I just try to help the industry any way I can. I just got back from Vegas last week.
At the AIM show?
At the AIM show, and had a lot of conversations out there about the industry, because I'm one person that a lot of them come to find out what's happening where the boots are on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of this industry is driven from California.
Yep.
And sometimes that's not an accurate picture of what happens elsewhere. So I learned that this was back years ago. There were more motorcycles sold in the state of California than all other states combined.
Really?
That's why everything derives out of California.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
And all your gear companies, because I kept asking them, why is everything from the West Coast?
Yeah.
Because the volume that's being sold. And they ride 12 months out of the year, which is something we've been blessed with in our location. We drive 12 months out of the year.
Yeah. Except for Christmas.
Except for Christmas Day.
Yep.
We're open for people that's on the property, but we don't run them at large and all. But the unique thing about this location, during the summer months, the Floridians come north, and we're 10 degrees cooler and less humidity. So they think this is heaven.
Yes.
For them to ride. Now, you and I are here huffing and puffing and complaining. But in the winter months, just like right now, the northerners,
they come down because they're like, oh, it's so much nicer than we're
they're out here at 28 degrees thinking, man, this feels great today. I'm going to ride him. So, and then we got the choice of spring and fall as our prime time. And so, but we stay busy 12 months out of the year. Any holiday, the good thing that's happened with us is the schools have so many holidays now. They have winter break, fall breaks, spring break.
Pretty annoying since my kid's in school.
Yes, and now like today, this weekend, here it is President's Day, and they get a Friday off. Some people off the whole week coming up.
My kid is,
for winter break. So anytime the kids are out of school, our business is good.
Yeah.
Because they come here to ride.
Mike, thank you for doing this. We'll probably end up playing one of my kids' stories that he's going to tell and then wrap up the show. But yeah, man, thanks for taking the time.
All right, thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
See you.
You wanna talk about a leap of faith? I have caught shorted in the darkness. Flip cups and rolling dice. We get no fucks now, we think twice, yeah. And in this multi-subtle world, felt like it was trying to shake us. Held on to what we knew. It could try, but it never break us. It could try, but it never break us. They talk about what's going on, like we can't function on this level. You laugh at who we are. You're the joke that's taken too far. It's gonna watch it over. We won't ever take a step. We just keep getting closer. Getting years of